Okay. I swear this is the only effect. I just wanted to try that out. Anyway, so yeah, hi, Aarni. Though this is the title of my presentation, the tools I try to use to be a productive developer. Small disclaimer, I made these slides literally 2 hours ago, so they might be not the most polished ones, but I'm sure they will be fine. So yeah, hi, Aarni, AKX on the internet. I work at Valohai with awesome colleagues, CTO, lead, Uber, full stack developer, tech person, open source maintainer, contributor, troublemaker. Apparently I need to tell this to people, but I'm ranked number 688 on Stack Overflow out of 19 million people, so that's probably something. Yeah. Otherwise, synthesizers, beer, nerdery, useless facts, puns, opinions, old internet energy. And that's me in Japan drinking some beer with some friends who I tried to mostly censor out because I didn't have their consent to be here, but you can see someone's teeth over here. So, yeah, so what the heck? I've been writing code since I was about 6 years old, and as you can see, there's apparently a photo of me somewhere in the family albums of me being at a keyboard at 3 years old, but I probably wasn't doing anything productive back then. But I couldn't find it because I was at the office doing these slides and I don't have my family albums at the office and I haven't digitized them, so instead please have a DALL-E generated manatee. I think it was manatee working at a laptop, film photo, cinematic, boom. Anyway, I've worked on various platforms, lots of different languages over my career and doing hobby projects such as a geocache in Hirvensalo, which involved a embedded thing that started screaming. Well, it turned the lights on and started a doll screaming in the well when you opened the lid, which was apparently surprising to many people.
They were really scared of watching.
Yep, there you go. These days, mostly web programming, systems programming in Python, TypeScript, mostly working on macOS and Linux, but I also work on Windows at home because I don't want to, pull out my MacBook all the time when I want to do something. And I also actually been working on GitHub code spaces recently sometimes, which is surprisingly okay. But this is not the topic for this talk. I'm not as productive on GitHub code spaces as I am with my laptop. So anyway, yeah, so this talk is 100% opinion, so please don't throw cans at me. Throw them in the can bin instead. And if I'm wrong about something, then please tell me. You can interject if you like. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. So I kind of structured this with these cute, big ass intertitle slides. This was a theme from Keynote, by the way, and also the effects from Keynote, which are really cool. I guess you don't have those on Linux. Yeah. So my setup in general is, this was today at work. So this is a MacBook Pro from 2019. It has an Intel processor. I can hear you say boo. I would like it to be an M2, but startups, you gotta work with, Yeah, so this is generally, you can see my general setup. So I have a big monitor up top with code and whatever, and probably the browser, and then an additional screen for terminal output and Slack and whatever I need. I also use the Mac keyboard and the Mac touchpad. So yes, I do use a mouse, and also I don't need to move my hand over here to use a mouse because it's right over here where my keys are, which is why I like this setup, by the way. So basically my focus is on the code and I can focus down on distractions such as compile errors or Slack. And also when I need to use the mouse, and I do need to use the mouse because I also use Slack and other communication tools that don't use keys, I can be there in like a millisecond. Well, not a millisecond, but you get the idea. And there's of course a fluffy boy on the desktop. If someone has played Deltarune, they'll probably recognize it being browser. Anyway, so yeah, the home setup is basically the same when I'm not in the bed, but when I'm in the bed, there's bed. And also this transfers to the travel setup, which is just the MacBook. So if I need to write some code on a train or at Slush maybe, I can just use the regular setup. I don't need to get used to having a split keyboard and like 10 displays and so on. I can just as well write code using the same setup I use at home and at the office. So that's nice with the basic setup. But having the extra display is still better. But you don't usually lug a 28-inch display with you usually, unless you're going to assembly, in which case you do. Okay, so shell. I actually had a she sells pun in there, but then I skipped it. Yeah, so I use fish as a shell. This might be a interesting choice. And actually, how many do use fish as their daily driver shell? Okay, there's a couple of enlightened people. Great. So yeah, fish is, as they say, a command line shell for the 90s, which is where we're living in right now. Yeah. But yeah, as you maybe know, Bash and other friends are from the 70s and 80s and so on. So fish is a breath of fresh 90s air into this scene. So the things I like about it, well, you can see them on the slide, but I'm gonna say them anyway. So infinite history, you don't have to mess about with history length or whatever. So basically any command I've run since I've started using fish is available in my command history. You can move it from machine to machine if you like. I have, but yeah. And yeah, it's also automatically, well, almost automatically shared between tabs. So unlike Bash, where each history session is separate by default anyway, I think there might be an option for that. And you can just type history merge on another tab, and then you get the history from the other tabs as well, and it works perfectly. It uses the history for suggestions. We're gonna have a demo soon. And it also somehow magically has a directory context for those suggestions. So if it knows you're in the directory something project, it will suggest the commands that you run in that project or folder, which is really useful. It has abbreviations instead of aliases. Well, it does have aliases as well, but I don't see any reason to use those because abbreviations are much better. And I'll show you what those mean in a minute. Then I have a couple of custom functions to jump around projects, etc. So basically, I have V to go to a project because I'm a Python developer first and foremost, so it was V for virtual env, but then it just became just V for skipping to the project. So and yeah, it has colors, right? Like maybe you can see in the screenshot over there. It has colors for like even inline. We'll see it again soon, which is better than you might expect being a Bash user. I don't know about ZShell, but it also just works. So you don't need to install OhMyZShell or whatever to get like 10,000 different plugins, and then you get a shell that takes 5 seconds. I've seen people, no lie, with 5 seconds for each new session. They're like, I'm sitting here looking at an empty terminal window while it's loading some fucking plugins. Yay, great, that's what I want. That's not what I want, but they like it. Recent versions of Fish are also compatible with the usual Bash isms, so you can do command redirection or subcells and so on with the usual commands from the internet, because I mean obviously all of you paste code from the internet into your terminal. So all of those work generally pretty well with Fish as well. Yeah, and also on remote, oh yeah, and scripting is different though from Bash, and that's a good thing because Bash scripts are not meant for humans to read. Or write, or be around anyway. But yeah, I still use Bash on remote servers because I don't really want to go into the trouble of installing Fish just for a while. If I need to do something for a longer while on a remote server, I'm doing it wrong anyway. Yeah, okay. Then as a terminal software, I'm using iTerm 2 on the Mac. Matsu was using Alacrity, yeah. So yeah, the things I like about iTerm is it integrates with your shell. So I don't even have a cursor. Okay, cool. Anyway, it integrates with your shell. So, for instance, you can see those tiny little carets right next to the tilde sign for each line. Those turn red if your command failed. So basically, iTerm knows if your command failed, and you can skip to the last failed command or redo the last failed command or whatever. And you can also copy the output of your last command without having to scroll back for like 10,000 lines because you were foolish enough to type in kubectl something. Yeah, or cat, whatever. You can also actually display images in iTerm 2, which is a bit of a hack, and you never really need it, but you can do it if you like. Yeah, and also you don't need a plugin for Git status. I mean, most of you guys most of you. I think I read that "Hey every pony" is the most offensive and also inclusive greeting. So I think every pony here uses some sort of git status thing on their terminal, but you don't need to have it being synchronous and being in line with your shell entry line thing. You can have it in the status bar. It has tabs, it has splits, and so on. So I don't need to use tmux. I can just use my terminal emulator's features for that. And yeah, if you're using Windows, I haven't used the new Windows terminal, which is apparently pretty cool, but conemu is pretty nice if you want to do something like this on Windows. It's basically, it kind of hijacks the console window and does deep Russian magic on it, but it works. It's also a good piece of software. Yeah, demo time. I honestly can't remember when I have the demo time here, so have to deal with this. Yeah, there we go. Demo effect to begin with. Okay, so I have cause over here. Let's do something that fails. Yeah, so you can see it goes red. Yeah, so cause, obviously everyone uses cause for their messages. So cause says something. Let's see what else I have. Yeah, so you can, yeah, there's a different cause. Then I have toilet, which is useful for printing big text. But yeah, basically if I want to go to a project, let's say Babel, which is I'm one of the maintainers of, not that Babel that everyone uses in the JavaScript world, but the Babel everyone uses elsewhere, even if they don't know it. It's a project that's being downloaded every 5 times every second, so that's something. Anyway, so I just used vBabel to skip to Babel. I can, yeah, so abbreviations. I have GCO, which is git checkout. So as you noticed, oh yeah, actually I'll probably do the same as Matsu did. So I have a keycaster. Yeah, there we go. It's small, but it's effective. So yeah, so GCO is for git checkout. So let me actually, yeah, GP is for git pull and all the flags, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, a couple of different remotes. GL is for git log, so on. So the nice thing about abbreviations as opposed to aliases is that you can, continue editing these. So once I've, typed GL, it expands it, and then I can go back and start editing it. And if I want to use GL, but without the graph for some reason, I can do that. So in this case, I get a couple less asterisks. But I could do that. If I'm working on, let's say, new magic project. Yes, good typo. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, also git stouts because I've alias. That's because I do that all the time. Also, actually, gin status because you need a git that has cocktail glasses, so gin. That's all it does. And that's actually a function, I think. Yeah, so there you go. Defined in blah, 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 gin fish. It calls git and sends a cocktail glass into each line. Because obviously you need that. Yeah, so yeah, I said you have splits. You have splits everywhere. You have, yeah, all sorts of splits. You can tear these away from the windows if you like. But yeah, fish is nice. Oh yeah, and I said color, so yeah, let's try git. So yeah, and I also have the actual nice completion. So I get all of these, and if I have a file, let's say, yeah, as diff2. So if I do this, it knows that git add is usually followed by a file name, so let's complete file names. If I have files that are unstaged, it actually only shows unstaged files, or like files with changes or whatever, if I do git add. So that's pretty cool. So it has like all the context you need for, different applications. So that...
Is that a special git plugin?
No.
Just fish in itself?
I said you don't need anything with fish. I meant it, man. Yeah. No, it's really fancy. Oh yeah, and I told you we have the git... Actually, it actually has stopped working. Anyway, you would see you would see the git status down here in the status line. Anyway, yeah, I think that was like the shell demo. Yep. Okay, so ID/editor. yeah, so I use PyCharm or JetBrains plugins, JetBrains IDEs. It's easily the most productive workspace I've used, even if it eats all of your memory, but that's why you get a bigger machine for anyway. So you might think that PyCharm is only for Python people and I do TypeScript. Well, PyCharm Pro does TypeScript and JavaScript and all of the web languages as well. And you can also just get WebStorm, which is basically their web IDE if you're only working with web languages. And and I actually do recommend it, if you have the budget, get the full all product subscription, because then you can, let's see, demo effect, no, yes, no, yes, no. So then you can get all of the umpteen different programs they have, and if you occasionally do C, for instance, the last time I used CLion, it was to work on the web port for Ultimate Tapankaikki. If you guys have played it, it's on swapipeli.github.io, which is actually a co-project with some Reactorians. So yeah, DataGrip for databases, Golang for Go, PyCharm for all the rest. Yeah, so I do recommend getting the whole kit if you want, if you or your employer has the money. It's not that expensive. Yeah, so in PyCharm, let me see. Actually, yeah, let me go to the demo first. The demo slide first. I'm not going ahead of myself. So yeah, PyCharm has a really nice productivity guide thing that's basically the antithesis of Vim, because it actually tells you which commands you can use at which time, and you don't have to pre-learn all of the shortcuts. I mean, this is not a diss towards you, it's just an observation. So anyway, it has really good learning paths, and it has a productivity guide that shows you all of the features you might have missed. And then there's a plugin called Key Promoter X, which whenever you are foolish enough to use a mouse and go to a menu and click something, it pops up this small thing that says, hey, by the way, did you know you can use this key shortcut for this? You've done this 979 times with the mouse. No lie. But yeah. All of those points I already got to. Yeah. Then I use Sublime Text on occasion for text editing when I don't need to write code. When I need to, for example, write a patch note, or well, actually I occasionally use. Oh, anyway, when I need to do text stuff. So for example, I have a list of names or something from a web page, and I need to make those into a comma delimited and quoted list. Yeah.
Have you registered?
No. I actually planned on doing that today while I'm writing the slides, because I knew someone would ask, and if I had a demo about it, you would see the unregistered in the corner. Anyway, yes, I've thought about it. I haven't done it yet, but
Do you know anyone who has?
there we go. Show of hands, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so great. I'm borrowing your license. Great, excellent. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So you can, the multi-cursor stuff in Sublime Text, well, I think it was the first that did multi-cursor properly, and then other editors copied it, but it does work really well. And yeah, it also, like PyCharm and other the IDEA tools, you can type PyCharm dot on your command line to open a PyCharm thing for your current folder. I actually do that a lot. So if I use v something to navigate to a project, then I use PyCharm dot to open it in PyCharm, instead of using a mouse. But like subl something blah 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 works really well as well. Also you can pipe to subl, so if you have like a git output or something from even curl, you can just pipe it to subl and it opens a new Sublime Text with the input, which is cool. I could probably use VS Code for all of the same basic text editing. Yes, I know VS Code can be used for actual programming as well, I've heard. But basically I've just gotten so used to Sublime Text, it's muscle memory. Yeah, and then GitHub Copilot. I'm not a script kiddie, thank you very much. But yeah, it has also been a real productivity boost. So basically, any boilerplate, I have a context of, maybe a getter function for something or property, and then I need to copy that for another, or write the same code but with a different name of a function or something, and I just use blah 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 blah. And it goes, yes, did you mean the exact same thing you had above, but with the right things, and so on. That's really nice. I'll show it to you later on. So I heard Replit is coming out with their own, what's it called? Can someone remember? Something, Replit, whatever, which does the same sort of thing. So if you don't want to pay Microsoft for stealing open source code and something and so on, and all of the other license issues that come with GitHub Copilot, then you can probably also pay money to Replit. Or you can see if you can build Kite, because they recently went bankrupt and open sourced everything. So if you want to use Kite, you can also probably use it. Anyway, it's also really good at parsing code. So I had a shell script a way back, and I needed to make a Python version of it because it was longer than 10 lines. And if you have more than 10 lines of bash, then you probably use a real programming language. So I wanted to use Python or put it to Python. So I just took the code, wrote a comment block, pasted it into the comment block, then started typing def main, and then just hit tab, and it basically got everything right. Almost everything. I did check it, like I didn't just run it because, running code that robots write, what could go wrong? I think there's a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger about that. Yeah, so, and yeah, also it's good at writing patch notes, so, have your git commits as a comment, and then just start writing new features, blah, 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 and then, bullet points, and it basically usually fills up those pretty well. Not all the time, but that's part of the fun. You get to watch a machine being wrong for once. And yeah, so it's not a silver bullet, because that would take the fun out of programming for me, but it has really helped with, a lot of boilerplate, and it's been a real productivity boost, even for a experienced programmer. Okay, then there's Dash, which is, yeah, so it's a documentation browser. So basically, if I need documentation, I mean, sometimes GitHub Copilot doesn't know everything, or the built-in documentation for something isn't working, whatever. I have Dash, which is basically a pop-up documentation browser. You can get doc sets for basically anything, and you can also build your own if you like. They're just HTML files. With a search index, I think. It's also available, it's paid on Macs, but you can get ports for other OSs. I think it's Velocity on Linux and Zeal on Windows, but basically it's using the same doc sets. After all, it's just a browser that has a fancy quick UI, so, okay, I think, yeah, pink slide, nice. Yeah, so, where were we? PyCharm, yes, PyCharm. There we go. That's proprietary. No, that's proprietary. No, that's okay. So Flint, which is a f-string formatter for Python. So basically, if you have your old school % formatting or dot formatting, Flint turns them into new school f-strings. I contributed a feature that turns like constant join expressions, like if you have some string dot join and an array of, or a list of a known size, it turns that into a delimited f-string. So I've also been refactoring it because it's slightly shit. So anyway, as we noticed before, you have shift, which goes to a file. But like, let's say, can you by this way see this well? Well enough, I guess, I hope. Oh yeah, actually probably in a branch where, yeah, in a shit branch. So Flint, GCO, master. Okay, there we go. So,
is there a reason you like using terminal instead of using a terminal inside the IDE?
Yeah, because the terminal inside of the IDE is not iTerm, so we, talked about that earlier. And also, it's a tiny little sliver of a window over here. I can't see anything. I like a big window, or as big as I wanted. Yeah, and also I'm used to this. No real other reason. Occasionally I use the terminal because there were some reasons I can't remember. Anyway, I don't know. So let's say I want to write a test case. So, yep, sure. Yeah, hit me. Cool, sounds good. So this is basically copying. Oh, it's actually, yeah. So it's a variation of this test that does, tests on a very number of files, but it set the length limit to something. So, new test, cool, yeah, works for me. But like if I wanted to, if I had typed all this, then let's see, actually something else. See, let's see. Oh well, but yeah. Usually, writing this sort of boilerplate, that's, usually the computer can get it right. Then why wouldn't you let the computer do it? Because it's probably faster for it to do it than you. Yeah, this is the path to the. No, no, that's not what I wanted to do. No. Anyway, as you can see, it does get things wrong. That was a good demo. Yeah, what else did I have in the this segment? Oh yeah, the productivity guide. So there's my product. Oh, actually, shift. Productivity. Yes. So productivity guide. PyCharm uptime 5 hours 36 minutes. It's been idle for 5 milliseconds now. Well, I mean, true. Yes, it took 5 milliseconds for it to open the window. Code completion has saved you from typing at least 500,000 characters since 19, so that's about 1,000 per working day. Thank you, my fingers. Quick fixes have saved you from a possible 20,000 bugs, so 29 per working day. You know, possibly yes. So yeah, code completion last used 4 hours ago. I doubt that, but yeah. So you can basically see all of the cool productivity features that the IDE has, and you can see how many times you've used them or not used them. For instance, surround statement with. I might want to use that, yeah, sure. Surround with try except, why not? Go to action, well, I've used shift, so that's not, yeah. Go to symbol, well, I use shift. Anyway, but all of these features I've used once. Select in pop-up, oh yeah. Oh yeah, by the way, that only enlightened IDEs have refactoring by not using menus. Control T is the refactor of this menu. So introduce extra method. Yes, excellent. But yeah, also moving in increments more than a single letter is available. So you don't need to use Vim bindings for that. You can use your usual two-hand bindings. Yeah.
There's one hand too much. The other hand could be on the mouse.
Yeah, but I don't need. Again, I don't need to have my other hand on the mouse because it's on the touchpad over here. Anyway, yeah. So Sublime text, which is unregistered, as we heard from Otso. Thank you. So if I have some, actually, let me just do user share words. No, wait. Where is it? User share dict words? Yes. Yeah, so all of the letters, all of the text in the dictionary. So I do, what did I do? Shift Command L to select each line and then do this. So that's something that's really easy to do with Sublime Text, which is probably a bit harder in other editors, or at least my muscle memory doesn't flex that far. But yeah, that sort of stuff is easy to do in Sublime Text, which is a little bit harder in other editors or IDEs, which is why I occasionally use, or as you can see from the number of tabs, occasionally might be an understatement. So yeah, I use Sublime Text for text editing as well. Let's see, yes, yeah, COPILOT you already saw. Oh yeah, and then dash. So let's say I'm working on something really hardcore and I need to know how the div mod function works, which is by the way pretty cool. So div mod, I do Command, Alt, and pykälämerkki, because that's what I've chosen for this, because it's easy on the left hand, so you can just look at this claw move on your left hand, it's going. So I just do div-mod over here, there we go. Or if I want the documentation for the CSS scroll snap property, I do CSS scroll snap align, yeah, and it's the MDN page, but without all the fluff. Nice.
Did you integrate the IDE?
Yep, there's. Yeah, so I think I may actually have the plugin installed that opens Dash from a given thing, and I think it on macOS it also installs itself as a service for text selections, so you can use that as well. But I don't really use it because I do the claw. Yeah. So again, something I've just been used to. Yeah, something cool is the you can share the online page URL as well, or open it in your browser if you need to. By the way, let's see, does F7, so, yeah, F7, yes. So caret browsing, have you tried it? You can actually use moving caret to browse. And I think if we do snap stop, no, it doesn't do the thing. Oh well, I figured it might move the caret there as well. I think there's a button for that. But yeah, F7 in all of the current browsers does caret browsing. No one knows about that. Yes. Yeah. Why the hell am I? Yeah. How to exit caret editing? Yeah. But yeah, dash or zeal or velocity. Yes. Tools. So Python things, how many of you do Python like full-time-ish and half-time-ish or like occasional-ish? Yeah, okay, cool. Just something that I was thinking about like on the main tooling side, just virtual env and pip. You might not need poetry, you might not need pip env, you might not need anything else, because the old tools still work really well, and pip has gone forward with leaps and bounds. It does all the things you want. It has pretty colorful status bars as well, which is not something it had a year ago, so now you can see more colors. And as you already saw, I had the V function to make it easier for jump to a project and activate its virtual env, so that integrates with my shell experience really well. Packaging your Python projects, you don't need poetry, you can just use setup tools or hatchling. They are all PEP 517 compatible, which is the future. I'm not going to go into that because this is not the Python Turku meetup. For interpreter versions, I actually also use Homebrew, but PyEnv is nice, and you could also use ASDF if you want a polyglot interpreter versioning thing. So basically ASDF is like NVM and PyEnv and all of the other programming language version management things in one, and apparently it's called ASDF because you can type it with like. Anyway, for linting, pre-commit with Black and Flake 8 and Autoflake and isort, the usual trio, that's a quartet, the usual quartet. Type checking with MyPy or sometimes PyWrite because they get some things differently sometimes. And testing PyTest and Tox. So PyTest runs your tests, Tox runs them on different interpreters. Tox can integrate with PyEnv, so if you have interpreters installed with PyEnv, Tox can find them automatically. So you can run all of the versions that you want. Otherwise, I mean, you would probably run them in CI anyway, but if you want to run them locally, for instance, if you have a super hairy problem that only Python 3.6 has this bug where something and something else, you don't want to be debugging that on GitHub Actions because that would be silly. And you might not want to be doing that on Docker either because, yeah. Okay. That's virtual envs. So, but yeah, you can set up different envs with like different dependencies and so on. So yeah, you can do like variations. For instance, some of the Django packages Valohai maintains have Tox running inside GitHub Actions, so we test with different combinations of different versions of dependent packages. Yeah. So then JavaScript, TypeScript things. I tried to look for. Oh, by the way, this is also generated by DALL-E. It was Purple Python hacking into the mainframe, and this was a TypeScript developer downing shots because I couldn't find. I couldn't find a cute logo for JavaScript, TypeScript, and I figured why the hell not. So yeah, I usually write React stuff, even for toy projects, because I like it. I use Yarn because I've still haven't quite gotten over the fact that NPM used to be slow because it was redrawing the progress bar 100 times a second. So I'm not trusting them. Might be unfounded, but yeah, and Yarn has Upgrade Interactive, which is not something that NPM has, so it shows up all of your libraries and you can just tap them. Actually, let me see if I can show you. No, wait, it's not pink slide time yet. I'm not going to show you. Then building Vite, which is like the current good alternative to, let's say, Create React App and all of the rest. So and Webpack as well. It's a lot faster, a lot lighter, and a lot nicer. It also has a really good test runner called Vitest and a storybook alternative called Ladle, which I've also contributed code to, so it's good. And yeah, I also have this small Vite React TypeScript template, which has like nothing visual, but you can just use npx digit. Digit is, by the way, npx, as you probably know, is the run code from the internet for me tool that npm installs on every machine. That's nice. Digit is a tool that grabs a GitHub repo into a given directory and removes the Git subdirectory. So basically, you get a fresh checkout. It's good for templates and stuff. So you're going to npx digit the template and my funny project, and then cd into it, type yarn dev, and you're good to go. Yeah. And linting, well, yes, lint and prettier, but you probably already know that if you use TypeScript and JavaScript. By the way, who does here, show of hands, JavaScript, TypeScript as like daily driver? Yeah, figured. I mean, we all do, but And for node version management, none. Nothing, no. I just run with the latest version I get from Homebrew because it has always worked for me. I don't really understand why people need to run on old versions or new versions or something else, but whatever. This has worked for me. As I said, 100% opinion. No one has thrown a can at me yet, so I'm good. Versioning things, GitHub, obviously. Well, not obviously. Some people like GitLab, some people like, what's the European alternative? Codeberg, which is a Git installation. Some people have something else. Yeah. No one has Bitbucket anymore, that's true. I used to have it when it did private repos and GitHub didn't unless you paid them. But that was the only use case. And yeah, it's owned by an evil corporation, so you know. And also github.com/poll/reviews if you have a review heavy workflow like Valohai does. That's a cool place to see all of the reviews assigned to you if you don't use the GitHub reminder application that you can get on Slack, which is, by the way, something you should also check out. So basically it sends you reminders, let's say every weekday at 9 and 2 about all of the shit you need to do, so your coworkers don't yell at you. And as you noticed, I do 99% of my Git work in the command line client. Git add-p is your friend, so it basically adds interactively in chunks. So you can, yep, that was the change I wanted to add, that was the change I wanted to, that I don't want to add. And then Git interactive rebase is also your friend, and it makes your soul sing once you learn it. Before you do, it makes you cry. Also, something I forgot to add here is Git reflog. Who here knows Git reflog? Who has used Git reflog? Okay, great. So Git reflog basically shows you a log of wherever your current head has been. That sounds bad. But like, basically shows you all of the commits that have ever been, even if they are not on the branch, if they have been made in the last 2 weeks or so, or I mean 2 weeks is the threshold for Git garbage collection. But basically, if you something that's cool that people generally don't know about Git, if you have committed something and it hasn't been 2 weeks, you can get it back, always. And well, I mean, unless you've gone and manually destroy all of my commits, or oh, I don't know what's going on, I'm just gonna clone this again, and yeah, then you lost the game. But generally, if you've committed something in Git, you can get it back in the 2 weeks period or more. And then I use a tool called JITX on Mac for history visualization, but that's basically all I use it for. It's like a graph, but in a visual form, so I don't need to use the console for that because it's easier to read if it's actually graphical. I mean, we have these things called GUIs for a reason. Code quality things, GitHub Actions for CI/CD, so you don't let bad code into master or main. And when the good code is in the master, then it's very easy to deploy with, e.g. a React app to GitHub pages. Actually, the template I mentioned, the React.ts template has a commented out workflow, so you can just uncomment it and it will build your stuff into GitHub pages, and then you just click on the GitHub UI to publish your stuff on the internet. Wow. Yeah. Well, was there something I needed to demo? Oh yeah. Great. Thank you. What would be a good project? Yeah, Pew is a game thing I've been working on. I can show you. Well, it's not really a game. Have you guys played Vampire Survivors? I know at least one person has, right? Or 20 Minutes Till Dawn, or yeah, okay, great. So bullet heaven style game. Yeah, it's pretty rudimentary still, but it's TypeScript and Phaser.js. No, not Phaser. It's Pixie.js. Anyway, so yeah, I still need to figure out what I want to do with that project. But anyway, so. So far yet, yes, yeah. So, yeah, I know. But I have projects that have lots of sound, so, So Yarn Upgrade Interactive, when the network is being fast enough, does a thing. Please do the thing, internet. Downloading at 700 kilobits bytes a second, but not doing much. What is it downloading at 600 kilobytes a second for this long? Oh, by the way, we're gonna, yeah, there we go. So, yeah, basically you have this tool, you can select the dependencies you want to upgrade. It's pretty cool. I don't know if NPM has something like that, does it? I mean, I honestly don't know. This wasn't, a dig at NPM. But yeah, this is pretty cool. Okay, so, yeah. So, miscellaneous, stats and hot to, menu bar system status, such as what the hell is Node doing with my download bandwidth. Raycast, which is a better Spotlight or Alfred or the launcher thing that Linux people have. Better Touch tool does key remapping, and I don't know if I actually used it accidentally, but also the thing where I use the keyboard to split the or move a window around the screen. Window proxy icons are something that most people who use Macs don't know about because it's not really documented anywhere. It was something that probably was demoed back when Mac OS something came out, but it's like really cool. So if I have, actually, well, do we have a pink slide? No, we don't have a pink slide, so I can show it now. So if I have Affinity Photo, which we're coming to later on. Oh yeah, I have it open here. Let's say I have, let's see what lewdness we'll find here. Yeah, there's that photo. Yeah, the deal with cat. So if I open deal with cat, which is a cool emoji. If you want this on your Slack, just let me know. So the window proxy icons, something that, where did I put it? I put it as a mask somewhere. Cool. What the hell happened? Well, it was censored, but anyway, most people don't necessarily know that you can use the little tiny proxy icon on the Windows in native Mac apps to grab the document out of the window and use it elsewhere. And that's something that's, a productivity thing. I think that was a theme, wasn't it? Yeah, cool. So, yeah, and so yeah, stats is this. So you get the disk space and CPU usage and RAM usage. Oh hey, it's Docker, and battery stats and everything. And if you're unlucky to have an Intel Mac that throttles occasionally, then hot tells you when it's doing it, so you can stop what you're doing. So basically, when you notice the this turning red and the percentage going down from 100, then you know that your Mac is running too hot and it's throttling itself, and that's why everything is slow. Yeah. Then Better Touch tool, I mentioned it's somewhere here. It has the ugliest configuration UI ever. I mean, this definitely hasn't been written by an Apple like human interface guideline developer, but yeah, yeah, it does the window moving, so I can use Command Alt left and right to move windows around. Yeah. Then let's go back. Not just Mac stuff, Slack. I don't use it to be productive, but I use it to be amused. Docker, which is not necessarily for deployment. So if you want to, run something in a sandbox, with some software you don't necessarily want to install on your main computer, then use Docker. Tailscale is pretty cool. Who here knows about Tailscale or uses it? Okay, a couple of enlightened people again. So Tailscale is basically a overlay network / VPN. So if you have machines at home or somewhere else that you want to connect to without having to punch holes in firewalls, or if you want to drop files between them, Tailscale is pretty cool. They have a generous free plan for one person, and they are not that expensive for teams either. And you can have all sorts of cool ACL stuff and so on going on. So it's corporate proof. They also had a minor code execution vulnerability, but that was fixed in like 4 hours, and it was also only an issue with certain versions of Windows and so on. But anyway, and Affinity Photo and Designer are like Adobe's software, but without the subscription shit. They actually, by the way, if you're interested, they are right now on Black Friday sale for like minus 40%, $120 for all 3 platforms, so Windows, Mac, and iPad. I'm not being paid to say that I really, really like the software. It's good. Google Chrome, if you haven't played around with the dev tools, please do. There's lots of stuff that you might not know about, such as save full page screenshot, which is nice if you want the full scrolled page. That's something you don't get elsewhere. It has it has the color blindness emulations, which are useful for checking your accessibility, and it also has a blurred vision display mode, which is useful if you don't know how to otherwise put a blur filter on your CSS. And the React dev tools are also useful If you do React, for instance, if we go to iltasanomat.fi, which is obviously one of my most used sites. Well, actually, Iltalehti is because Tuomas Manninen is on there. So yeah, you can tell that this has been made with React because the tree looks like this, and there's like 10,000 context providers, so you know it has to be web scale. Yeah. So yeah, use the dev tools, play with the dev tools, use the performance tools. Oh yeah, what the shit happened with the buffer usage? So yeah, you can tell what exactly is taking the time. For instance, there's a big ass, why isn't my Zoom working? Oh, it's working the wrong way. There's some sort of big ass function call that happened when I was just scrolling, probably an ad loading, must be an ad. No, it's not an ad because I have a uBlock. But yeah, let's see what else. Yeah, beyond compare, I'm not going to show that because it's slightly boring, but if you have files you want to compare in a side-by-side view, or if you have directory trees you want to compare or sync visually without, writing out an rsync spell that also only copies all of your files, and you end up with a, fucked up hierarchy, then use beyond compare. It's not free, but it's worth the, I think that's about 50 or something euros. Yeah, but if you're on Mac, you can if you're on Linux, you probably have Meld and whatever. Yeah, but beyond compare is cool on Mac and Windows. Android stuff, Aegis, how do you pronounce that word? It's a 2FA app that actually has working backup. So if you've ever been stuck with Google Authenticator and changed phones, and then you've had to go through all of your 2FA and change all of those because Google Authenticator actually didn't have backups back then, like me, then you might want to switch to another 2FA app. Aegis is good. Google Keep is good for notes and checklists. Untapped keeps track of beer. Pushover is nice for notifications. So if you have servers or services, or maybe your home automation. By the way, who does home automation here? A couple. Yeah, cool. So you can get your notifications through pushover to your phone. And Google Chrome send to device is also pretty cool. So if I have a tab over here, I can do this, send to your devices and my phone. And it does a thing, and if my phone was ever on not mute, it would say ping, and I could open the tab over there. Also works with other stuff. Meta things, use a kirkasvalolampu in the winter to stay productive. I personally get more things done in the afternoon and evening than in the morning, but society disagrees. Sleeping is nice. When working at home, please remember to eat. I often forget, and then I'm grumpy, and then I'm wondering why I'm feeling so grumpy. And then I realized, oh shit, it's 2 p.m. and I haven't eaten anything. L-cysteine blocks hangovers. It's available at Life and other shops. There was a medical study. Staying productive. Don't look at me like that.
Didn't the Finnish officials say that don't use it for blocking hangover because hangover has a purpose?
Possibly, yes. And sin has a. Yeah, if you ask certain entities, then sin and suffering also has a meaning, but you're free to do what you like. And we'll surely avoid scurvy if we all eat an orange. Who knows that reference? No one. One. Yes, great. Excellent. So one person has played Curse of Monkey Island. Okay, that's it. I guess it is. And okay, I lied. There's one more. There we go. Thank you. How much overtime was I? Okay. No questions?
It's about productivity, it's not over.
How did you generate the picture of the cat?
This one, from the internet. Cat being brushed by the toothbrush. Yeah, it's apparently a meme of some sort. But let me actually try. Tailscale demo. So because I'm on Tailscale, I have my Stable Diffusion tab over here because I have a gaming GPU at home. I don't have one here, surprisingly. So let's try cat being brushed. Cat looking content being brushed with a toothbrush. Digital art by Art. Who here has played with Stable Diffusion? I know one person has, but like. You need to know these magic words. So ArtGerm WLOP trending on ArtStation. Then you choose a good sampler and you go. Let's see. This will, yep. That doesn't look content. But anyway, so this is on tail scale, so I didn't have to punch holes through my Telia box at home. But instead I have tail scale over here and I can see all of my network devices. And if I want, I can use that node at home as an exit node, which is cool if you're, say, abroad and you want to look like you're in Finland. So all of the traffic will be routed through my home computer if I use this. But right now I don't want that, so, you know. Yeah, let's try another one. Because they're all going to be random. There's an infinite space of cats.
But is tailscale similar to like ngrok, or is it a completely different thing?
It's different. Ngrok is like a reverse proxy tunnel thing, and tailscale is for your person. Yeah, it's better. Yes. One more.
Cute cats, not nightmare.
Yeah.
Hey, try grabbing the first part of your text, throw it into GPT-3, and then pasting it in there with the comma things, and see if that produces any better things. Like the first, that part.
Yeah.
So just throw that into GPT-3,
Let's open.
and then throw the output of that back into that, and see what the output actually is. Because weirdly enough, it seems to be better.
Yeah. Well, also stable diffusion and all of these generative models are nice when you have to tell them that beautiful, and it becomes beautiful. No, I'm not gonna hit the I button. Thank you very much. Text completion. This one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Playground. Yes, quite. I've reached my usage limit. There we go. Well, I haven't even used this for a while, but yeah, that's another toothbrush. Maybe we'll just try film, photo, cinematic, Noir next when we finish with this. What is up with those paws?
How many paws are there?
Yes. That's a pacifier. That's not a toothbrush. Oh well. Let's go with writing code on a Linux laptop. But yeah, a stable diffusion is nice if you want to get into this. If you have a gaming GPU, I have like an 8 gigabyte GPU at home. So if you have like anything that can run modern games, you can probably run some of the SD Fox. Anyway, I think we want to go to the sauna instead. Yeah, thank you again.